Man, this dude down here riding the train got a bad case of the extremely fat arm syndrome. And don't you dare laugh. This affects 1 in every billion people every year. That doesn't sound right. This dude thinks the right time to ask if he's okay is when he sat up of his own volition and not when he's spazzing out on the floor. CGI. These other people are also stood right next to this large window and yet are unfazed by the invasion of dragons and goblins and such.
遊んで昇進したわけじゃねえよ。
本当欲のない人なんですね。
俺は趣味に生きるために仕事してんの。
Why would anyone want to support their hobby with work that involves danger like being in the army? From the sounds of everything he said, he'd much rather stack shelves at a store. Why do the military, where your hours are way more strict, where you might not always have weekends off, where you can be deployed to different areas away from your home? I don't know. Seems like a silly goose kind of move to me.
指揮官の狭間である。1ヶ月前から石膏が何度も入ってはいるが、特使で何が起きるかなど誰もわからない。
Wait, so you've had numerous scouts heading through the gate over the past month, but at the same time still have no idea what you'll be facing when you do go over there? Wouldn't the military send over scouts and, assuming they're alive and can come back, organise them to be on that side before the main force heads over in case of an attack or something? Also, it feels a little weird to be giving soldiers orders and instructions by your voice alone when there's loads of soldiers lined up rather than, at worst, having a megaphone and at best, doing the orders in a more conventional manner like at a base or something.
したがって門を越えた瞬間から戦闘が始まるかもしれないという心構えでいてくれ。
You'd think right before an operation like this that they'd clear the street of any and all civilians. Given that anything could be about to happen, they could get attacked right away and projectiles fly back through the gate into the street. Or maybe they're overwhelmed and the enemy comes back through the gate and then you've got mourners just hanging around.
デュラン殿、帝国軍は我らの代わりに敵を抑えてくれておるのだ。リグー殿。
Saying someone's name instead of talking normally, cliché.
朝が楽しみだな。我が軍だけで敵を蹴散らしてやる。
There's bravado, and then there's unrealistic levels of bravado. That is, unless the gimmick in this anime is that these people are all a bunch of complete morons. I don't know. But yeah, this guy's old, he's seen war, he's heard of the enemy, he's heard of how said enemy decimated 60% of the entire military might that one country had, and yet he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take them all down with my group alone. Like I said, too much moronic juice in this scene.
今夜は新月。この闇夜に乗じ、他の裏手より仕掛ければ気づかれることなく敵陣へ迫れるはず。
What a weird thing to spew out during the night raid itself that you've just planned beforehand.
おのれ。なぜだ。
When temporary plot armor keeps you alive and kills literally all of your thousands of men. These soldiers are well aware of the situation in the field, using flares and binoculars and everything, and yet feel the need to keep firing machine guns at dead people, and also, for good measure, a mortar shell at those same, clearly deceased people.
連合小王国軍は無残に敗走し、帝国の聖地たるアルヌスの丘に敵軍が居座っていると聞きました。この事態に陛下は何をなされているのですか?
She says, having just walked into the throne room while he's having a meeting with one of his advisors. I mean, she's absolutely right, but she did just walk in there and then be all like, what are you doing? Like she caught him enjoying a game of tennis.
そなたの騎士団と共に偵察に行ってもらえるか。
わらわが我が騎士団と共に
For the first and only time of the video, no!
あの日、新橋でゆりかもめに乗り損ねたばっかりに気づけば隊長か。
I have no idea what reference that is other than he missed a train, but that's enough for me to warrant him doing that job.
ザワールハルウグル。
お読みっすね。
You assume? Isn't he reading like a brand new language? For all he knows, that could be exactly how to say those words and stuff.
人だ。人がいるぞ。
It feels like this ED fits so oddly with the vibe of some of these episodes. Oh my god, there's a survivor in the well after that dragon burned 100 people to death. It's time for disco in a jeep. Let's all gather around and have some fun.
師匠も早く乗ってほしい。
あ？何を言うておる。わしはお前に乗っかるような少女趣味はないわい。
Bruh, you gonna shoot the horse? What the hell, man? Stupid people, take a sin, I hate you. You shot a horse, bruh. You don't get my forgiveness, mate.
あなた大丈夫？
あの人たち、私を助けた。
Did they though? Because that horse was way closer to the doctor who was in front and not you.
乗り心地がいいの？
Makes it even more weird when you know that she's literally adding in the lick sound effect since it never makes a sound. Try it at home. No sound. Unless you go... Naruto, run.
ていうか起きなさい。
お父さん。
Shouldn't you know that? Why wouldn't he go down there with her though?
おはよう。
お、目が覚めたみたいだな。もうすぐ着くぞ。
He knows that she doesn't speak his language and yet speaks to her in his language.
ここがこの連中の砦。
I'd love to know where exactly this is inside this weirdly designed military outpost.
わしは賢者加藤エル・アルテスタン。
私はローリー・マーキュリー。
Not only are these poor people displaced, but now they're being forced to stand in one specific area in order to introduce themselves. Like, you can't do it over by the wall, you gotta stand uncomfortably on the X in the middle and say your name. How cruel, Japan, why would you do them like that?
皆さん、準備して。えいどう。隊長、駅前留学の効果出てます？
I still don't get why you're assuming that they're not. Do you know better? Because if you do, then do it, mate. But if not, stop guessing that it's nonsense what he's saying.
こんなすごい光景見過ごしたなんて言ったら、お父さんきっとがっかりするわね。
危ないぞ。離れていなさい。
And yet you somehow allowed them in there in the first place.
まずは日本と友好を保ちつつ様子を見ていこう。理想としては人民の半分を特地に送り出したいところだ。
So wait, Japan has this gate that's only opened in Japan and they've sent their military through for seemingly a solid few weeks, if not a month or two, I suppose. And what? They just announced everything they've found to the outside world? Fertile lands, how large it seems to be, the mining and overall resource situation. They just told the world about it? I somehow doubt that they'd do that very much.
だが神の御心などでたらめだ。
They both see him getting out and walking towards them, and in spite of being the weirdest looking one out of all of them, neither of them say a word about him.
あら、気づいたよね。
This might sound odd, but on 2 different occasions now, someone who has clearly been awake has been spoken to by others as though they're actually awake, which is insanely rare for an anime, so actually removing a sim for that, it's that rare. Seriously.
隊長、遅れ。隊長、応答してください。
痛みだ。
Little weird that they saw him get blasted in the face by the gate being swung open, then being carried in by everyone, and yet sat there in their vehicles outside trying him over the radio a few times.
どういうことだ？
戦場で倒れた兵士のコンパクが。
Bruh, why you gotta have the lolly of all friggin' characters acting like a horn dog wanting to fight? Couldn't use the clearly adult looking in hot elf? Okay, that was incredibly awesome and a nice Apocalypse Now reference. As awesome as that moment was, what these 2 pilots are doing is absolutely beyond stupid.
化け物。
I just want to add that it's so ridiculous, the notion that the princess, having already fought one battle at the very least the day before, decided to just not call for the reinforcements, assuming they wouldn't come. She never even so much as sent a scout to go look and see if they stuck around. She just apparently had a meltdown, and that's understandable, but to have a meltdown which lasts for several hours is kind of in the realms of fantasy, and even then, no one else was like, screw this, I'm gonna go call them.
一体引け隊列組み直せ
Who are you shouting that out for, though?
自衛隊と。
What kinds of pilots have these guys got where he's all like, I'm gonna fly really close to this lady and look at her?
そして自衛隊は聖なるアルヌスを占拠し続けている。我らが敵。
Opportunistic wind cliche. Swords that when simply pointed at someone sound as though they're being unsheathed randomly.
お目覚めですか、ご主人様。
And then you went and spoiled my extreme generosity from earlier on by asking if someone is awake when they're clearly awake as they always do in anime. How could you?
どうも
He figured out frighteningly quick exactly what these two wanted him to do right there.
先代のご当主が大変解明的な方で。
Person in the past memory having no eyes cliche.
昨日の盗賊相手の立ち回り、素晴らしかったです。見惚れてしまいました。いやー、それほどでも。
Bit weird how everyone learned the other one's language in like 48 hours.
ではわらわもアルヌスへ同道させてもらおう。こたびの協定違反、上位の指揮官に正式に謝罪しておきたい。
Why is he so shocked by the notion of this? I mean, he is in the military and a fairly high rank. If he doesn't want to do it or doesn't think there's a point, he could simply say that. But it's not the worst idea in the world to apologise from one high-ranking member of the country to another, so I'm surprised by how surprised he is. Especially since he's already brought multiple people back to his base already, so it's nothing new.
これだけの建造物を作り上げる国家を相手に帝国は戦争を始めてしまったのだな。
I think concentrating on their weapons of war is a more accurate statement regarding how much their empire has gone messed up and not about how great their buildings look.
その前段、交渉に関する様々な取り決めを話し合う場と認識していただきたいのですが、問題ありませんか？
依存ありません。
Bruh, everyone has learned everyone else's language so fast it's unreal. The princess just met these guys like 3 days ago at most. It might even be closer to 48 hours. And already she's speaking it fluently. Meanwhile, the others are masters at it already, even though our main boy only got off the translation book like 2 episodes ago.
俺たちここで降りるよ。
何勝手に動かれちゃ困る
Jesus, how fast did this main character run in order for this dude who was right behind him on the train to have to sprint to catch up to him?
それに駒門さんを放り出してきてよかったんですか？
だってさ、ここまで続くと駒門さんそのものが怪しくね？
情報を漏洩していると。
そうまでは言わないけど、その周りがさ。
What would make him suspicious if just the people around him were the ones leaking information?
つい買い物しすぎちゃって。こっちの弓ってすごいのよ。本は必要なもの。向こうじゃあつらえるのも大変なのよ。
Always lovely when people speak in order of the line they're stood in. Makes things so much more manageable. But nowadays, everyone just wants to speak, regardless of where they're stood.
ところでリサ。お、私？
That is your name, is it not?
予定通り来賓を迎えに行くぞ。予定通りこれだけの損害を出して
いい加減にしろロジャー、まだ作戦中だ。チャックも口を慎んでくれ。
What the hell did Chuck do? He just reported the situation. Stop!
動いちゃダメ。
What? I wasn't!
奴ら雑論と国家安全部だぜ。
ロシアや中国、俺たちと同じ狙いだったのか。
He was able to ascertain this at night and during a gunfight in which we've yet to see a single person even speak other than an American in Japanese, but still, he's meant to be American, you feel me?
伊丹、殺傷せず無力化ができればよい。
ルル
As opposed to just saying yes, I guess.
保護欲がそそられるのはプラチナブロンドの子かな。
大変よくわかってらっしゃる。
何年付き合ってると思ってる。
いで。
Why would you hit him though?
おかえり。はい、お待たせ。
Seems a little strange to allow only those three to head into the store on their own after being in their world for a single day, assuming they can handle currency and stuff. Also though, after only just having been attacked in a massive battle, they decide to let these three head into the store alone, even though it doesn't take a genius to figure out that people are clearly after them and everyone from Japan just sits in the car and waits for them randomly. Well now, that sword ended up being significantly longer than the one he just pulled out.
朝まで一緒にね、幼児。
No, 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 no.
私のこれからの予定を台無しにしてくれたわね。
手負いの遠流退治だ。
遠流。
じゃあ俺たちはこれで。
空振りか。
Kind of odd that just because no one among the group is brave enough to take her up on her offer of the reward in order for them to slay a fire dragon, that they all just leave the bar. You didn't have to leave, especially not literally every person who was drinking. That was a weird reaction.
なんてことだ。片言以上の会話ができない者たちだったとは。
Well now, that's just not fair, is it? God, phew.
伊丹ならやってくれるかもと。
あいつなら大切にしている人を救うために、もしかして。
Even though he doesn't know any of those elves?
セント・ジョーンズワートのハーブティー、憂鬱や不安を取り除くと言われている。飲んで。飲んで。飲んで。飲んで。飲んで。飲んで。飲んで。飲んで。飲んで。
I can't drink anymore! Nathan Burr, Bird Without a Word, Arias Alibari, Aidan White, PK Fan, Ali 50, Ryan Anderson, Isael Caldera, Chris Harris, Yorna Stahl, Manolo Saucedo Munoz, Luis Hernandez, Kim Munt, Consul Peasant 12, Yuki Ali, Manuel Morales, Dark Lord Bloody Soul, Sentimento, Jaffa 6263, Amy Sand, Silver, Master Tank, Boogie, Kevin Nauta, Stefia, Brendan Kriya, Storm 970, Mr. Waffle 64, Theodore Quackens, Kaj Vorzelman, Jordan Samuels, Amye Humye, Crimson Shadows, Kyle Farmer, Buzzbomb 3000, Adora Blue, Yagai 7636.